Hi, hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to look at number 22 in the Schlossberg Daily Drills and Technical Studies. And this is a really important one. It can be done a lot of different ways. It's one single line of music. It's very simple. But I'm going to throw a variation in that's going to make it quite difficult. So what I'd like you to do is a very quick and extreme crescendo and decrescendo on each note. So what's written on the page and that's a very useful exercise. You could work on the smoothness in between the notes. So you can get a kind of a floating through the notes. That's a great way to do it. But this variation I want to show you today, I find particularly challenging, and I think it's because I wasn't playing correctly for a long time. I was playing pretty well in terms of the results, but I still have to work on this a lot. And it has to do with the flexibility of the aperture. So when most trumpet players get louder, they blow harder. So that we tend to push harder and try and push more air through. And we do that, I think, because it's natural. It makes sense to our brains. Yeah, I need to use more air. Our teacher's telling us, put some air through that horn. Use your air. So we keep on thinking we have to push more air. And actually what we need to do is, yes, more air flows, but because we're letting it flow by getting rid of all the things that are holding the air back. And one of the main things that holds the air back is your lips. Now, so if you go, I'm not holding the air back. I'm going to take a full breath and just buzz until I'm out of air. So that was almost 6 liters of air. So I'm really flowing a lot of air. You can't see it, but I'm just telling you, I'm flowing the air very freely. But I could be going, and that's what most people do when they play the trumpet. So now, don't get me wrong, there are people on the other side. There are people who are dumping air, or wasting air, and it's not producing much vibration. So if you think about it logically, what you're trying to do is let the air flow as easily as possible and allow the embouchure to vibrate, to oscillate as easily as possible. When you can do that, you're getting a good result. How do you know? Well, keep tracking the sound with your ear and the pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do this a little bit slow first. Yep. So I'm just stepping on the gas a little bit, right? And again, that metaphor, stepping on the gas, we're giving it the gas, that means we're pushing the air harder. But if you do this with your voice, what happens? You kind of blow out the flame. That's a good way to think about it. It's like you have a candle. You're trying to bend the flame and keep it bent, just like that, almost blowing it out, but it stays. If you blow too hard, you blow the flame right off the wick. And that's kind of how you have to think about what's happening here. It's so easy to over-muscle with the air and with the embouchure. So do this slowly at first, and I suggest that you practice a fair amount of slow crescendo, decrescendo, again with the ears to the quality of the sound, so the sound doesn't become harsh or, or broken in some way, and also with an ear to the pitch. Now that's a challenge. So that's one of the basic skills that you have to learn how to do. And the easiest way to do it is do it on a single note. Do it throughout the range. So you do it low, middle, high range. Most people have much more trouble when they get to the top of the staff. And the reason is we tend to tighten up and produce, we're using more of the brakes. If you saw my video on the brakes, we're holding back the air, we're squeezing it, we're choking it off, and then we have to push harder, and now everything is out of balance. So you're trying to find that special place where the air it flows more easily, and that's tricky. This will take some practice. Now let's say you've been working at it. If you can keep that pitch relatively stable, if you can keep it perfectly stable with a tuner, that's an accomplishment. You should feel proud of yourself when you do that, because that takes a lot of skill. Now, some people are going to have a much easier time than others, and that's the way it is with everything, right? But if you value this, in other words, you want to be able to do a gesture with the sound. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute, give you a musical application for this. But right off the bat, once I got that, and it's working in all registers, and then I try and see what I can do throughout the whole register. So this exercise, I'm going to ask you to do that extremely quick gesture. Now it shouldn't be, don't kick. So it's not like that. It's it's a gesture. Just like that with your voice. Now you notice how when I'm doing this, my voice is automatically going up. If I let the vocal cords vibrate and I don't keep the tension the same, keep the receptivity of the vocal cords and lean on it more with the air, the pitch goes up. And the same thing happens on the trumpet, which is why we do it. So what I'm telling you here, what I'm suggesting is, see if you can allow the lips to vibrate in greater amplitude, allow the air to flow more easily, follow through, keep that ear spinning all the time, especially when you're decrescendoing. Keep an ear to the sound quality, and always, especially when you're getting soft, I want to keep life. I want to keep brilliance. I want to keep projection in the sound. I want people to be able to hear that a mile away when I'm playing very soft. And that really, really helps. Quick story from Arturo Sandoval. When he was in Cuba, he used to practice in the soccer stadium. And he would go to the rim and play mezzo piano, mezzo forte to the other side. I think that's extremely helpful. If you have a place where you can get outside and play, maybe if you live in a rural area or live on a farm or you live someplace where you have a long view, especially a very long view, work to allow your sound to carry to that far distant object. And pick something. One of my colleagues, Norman Bolter, who played second trumpet in the BSO for many, many years, grew up on a farm in Minnesota. And he and his brother used to do this, but he told me about different ways of thinking about what to do with the sound. And this is really, really helpful thing. He would see a tree. It's basically pretty flat out there, and it's open fields, not a lot of forests, right? So he would see the tree on the horizon, and he would go and let the sound go, just like I told you about with soundophone. Let the sound go to the tree, mezzo forte, mezzo piano. And then another thing he would do, and I hope this sparks your musical imagination, because this is the way you should learn how to think. He would try and make his sound very, very dense. So he's thinking of like a cannonball, something that has a lot of weight and density to it. And then he would go like, "Oh!" and throw that cannonball to the tree. So that's a completely different thing than that, you know, comfortable, sustained sound. So when you're doing this, yes, you want to be listening. You want to be paying attention to the feel, whether you're overstressing, you know, the feeling of your chops, whether you're overstressing your chops, whether your breathing system is getting tight. If you're getting tight, what I suggest is just pretend that you ran up and down stairs, you know, you ran up several flights of stairs and you were trying to catch your breath. You see the breath goes in and out without any resistance. You want to bring that back in, and then you play again. Now that's probably going to clip, because I'm letting the sound get pretty loud. You notice I said I'm letting the sound get loud. That's what you want to do. This is more like hearing it in your mind's ear get louder. Imagine it getting louder. Allow it to get louder. Don't push. That's some of the best advice I can give you. So when you've got this, and you can go back to that other technique that I showed you, resting the bell on the flat of your thumb, resting the lead pipe on the flat of your thumb. Can you do it then? Now you notice, without exactly the right amount of pressure, I'm blowing the aperture open and the pitch goes way down. Keep your ear to that. Now you can't do all these things at once. Really concentrate on the sound quality, especially as you're doing a slow decrescendo and crescendo. Really concentrate on that gesture, concentrate on the quality. And then you can take your tuner out and work on the pitch. Again, do this slowly until you have success. You want to build success with success. You're building on something. So that's the kind of thing you want to remember when you're doing these. Most people find this more difficult at the extremes of registers, so expect that it's going to take you a little bit of time, but enjoy it. If you like playing a loud instrument, and many people who play the trumpet do, I would have been perfectly contented to play. I started on violin. I think that's an incredibly great instrument, and I wish that I played it. But things turn out a little differently. God had other plans, and here I am talking to you about the trumpet. But when Håkan gave a master class at NEC this year, he said, "Hi, my name is Håkan Hardenberger, and I am a musician who just happens to play the trumpet." And that warmed my heart, because that's exactly the way I feel. And that's what I want you to be too. So remember, when you're doing these exercises and technical studies and drills, you know, don't get in that mindset that this is a mechanical thing. It's always a musical thing, and it can be a physical pleasure, a joy to do these things, especially when you're starting to feel like, wow, that sound is really amazing. That's what I'm aiming for through the entire spectrum of the dynamics. That's what you want to work for. Keep the sound alive, soft, and keep it dolce when it's loud. It's easy to play with a hard sound. It's easy to play with an aggressive, pushed sound. You hear it all the time. I hear it all the time on TV. When it's not a synthesizer, most of the time it is. I'm not going to blame anybody. I'll probably get in trouble for this, but ABC News, you know, the theme to the news, that's a pushed sound in the trumpets, and it bothers me, it bothers my wife every time I hear it. Why? Because it's not a symphonic sound. It's what you might call a commercial sound, and that's what you normally hear. It's a little bit closer to yelling than it is to an operatic kind of voice. So you can decide what you want. That's the cool thing about it, but work on your sound. I hope this gives you a good starting point. Go and do the work, and you will get better. I'll see you later on. Have a great day. Bye-bye.